Hi, I'm Robert Jeschonek. I'm the organizer of the new Space 1975 Kickstarter campaign. That's a project which is dedicated to creating a new anthology of space opera fiction with a 1970s twist, which is just a really fun idea, and I can't wait to see the stories that come in for this great book. Today, I'm talking to one of our author team. His name is Marc Scott Zicree. And hi, Marc. How are you doing?
Hey, good. Glad to be with you, Robert.
Man, I'll tell you what, to our viewers out there, if you're not familiar with Marc by name, you are certainly very familiar with his work. Marc has been
Yes.
working has been writing just about everything for a very
Mhm.
long time, but he might be most well known for his screenwriting work.
Mhm.
Marc has written TV shows
Sure.
right and
Yeah,
left.
tons. I mean, Star Trek: Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Sliders, Friday the 13th, the series, Smurfs, He-Man, Super Friends, Real Ghostbusters, on and on and on and on. And so yeah, and it's been great fun. And I also wrote the Twilight Zone companion, so I'm very versed in TV from the beginning of its uh, commercial broadcasting till the present.
I've got my copy of the Twilight Zone
Yay!
Companion. I love this book. This is my
Thank you.
second or third copy of
That's
this.
the second edition, and the third edition just came out. It has 100 more pages, 500 more photographs, links to audio and video. Just really, really cool stuff.
I did not know there was a new edition.
Yes,
I,
yes.
I, this has nothing to do with any kind of a plug or anything else, but I want that book. I've got to
Yeah,
get it.
it's swell. Well, the reason I wrote it was because people kept telling me stories about the Twilight Zone that weren't in the one I'd written, and also all these rarities that used to be you'd have to go to a university and put a 16 millimeter reel on a moviola. Now they're on YouTube, and so I thought, well, people can watch these incredibly cool things now at the click of a button, So I had to share that.
Oh wow, I can't wait.
Yeah,
But
it was
it,
fun.
now there was something I didn't know until I went back through some of your bio material, which
Mhm.
is that did you actually then go on to write some episodes of a later edition, a later version
I,
of the Twilight Zone?
yeah, I wrote a script for the Twilight Zone when they brought it back in the '80s.
Wow.
Ironically, my friend Doug Hayes, who did The Howling Man and Eye of the Beholder and After Hours for the original Twilight Zone, was going to direct it. It was called Knife Through the Veil. And a week before we went into prep, the censors pulled the plug on it because it was too hard edged. Now, of course, it wouldn't be anything like that. So
Yeah.
I'm proposing a new series called Rod Serling's After Twilight that would utilize that script and other things by Serling. And so I've been in communication with the Serling family. So we'll see if we end up shooting that, but I'd love to.
Oh my, I had no idea. This is, I know this, this interview is supposed to be focused on Space 1975 and space opera,
Yes.
but oh my God, I'm a huge Twilight Zone fan. So
Yeah.
that's fantastic news. I love, because I know there are scripts out there that were
Yes,
rejected for one reason or another for
that's right.
the nature of the material.
That's
I,
right. So
I can't wait.
yeah, it's going to be fun. And so, but yes, but ask me whatever you would like to ask. I'm happy to be here, Robert.
Thank you. Well, Marc, as we just mentioned, you've written episodes of Star Trek: The Next Generation and Star Trek: Deep Space Nine,
Yeah.
including the story on which Far Beyond the Stars was based
Yes,
for
that's
Deep Space
correct.
Nine,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is one of the best episodes ever of any Star Trek. I
Thank
think, and I think
you.
many people
Thank you.
agree that it's at least one of the best episodes of DS9.
Yeah, I think
So
so too.
you're just the perfect person to be working on this project, this
Yes.
Kickstarter. And
Mhm.
I'm
Well, I'm so versed. I grew up reading science fiction voraciously when I was a kid, and I grew up in the '60s and '70s, and I was buying used paperbacks. So those were all books that were written in the '50s and so forth. So as I got to know writers like Theodore Sturgeon personally, I really was interested in paying homage to all of those writers who wrote for a penny a word for Astounding and Galaxy and Worlds of If and so forth. And that world had never been dramatized, never been popularized, and there wouldn't be a Star Trek or a Star Wars or any of this stuff if you hadn't had those guys writing for the love of it back in the '50s and so forth. And so I very much wanted to bring the knowledge of that world to the fans, and I'm glad I was able to.
Well, your love of the material and those authors really came through. It really
Yeah.
shone through in that episode and in all your work. So thank you for all that great work, and thank you for being part of this team. I most currently that I'm aware of, you've been working on a little something called Space Command,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Which was
Yeah.
definitely space opera times a
It
quadrillion.
is.
What gave you the idea to launch into that show?
Well, there was a period just a few years ago when all the science fiction was very dystopic and very dark, and even though some of it was terrific, like Battlestar Galactica, Ron Moore's version, I wanted something hopeful and positive that said that we can create a future worth living in, and like Star Trek did for me when I was a kid, because Star Trek was made during the Vietnam War, during the riots in the streets, and all this darkness, and yet Gene Roddenberry had the courage to say, look, we can reach across boundaries and barriers, we can create a better world. And millions of people around the world were inspired to become doctors and teachers and scientists and good family members and good parents. And, and I thought, let's create something for the audience now that could inspire in the same way. So rather than risking that a network would cut me off at pilot or at script, I reached out to my audience, and they've given me over $500,000, $1.5 million, and we shot the first 5 hours, and we're continuing to shoot more, and all the while we're pitching it to Amazon and Hulu and Netflix and all these guys, but we're not waiting on them to actually make it. And as Doug Jones and Bob Picardo and Mira Furlan and Bill Mumy and on, Barbara Bain, we just put Barbara Bain in Space Command, and Christina Moses, who's in a million little things on ABC. I was just talking to her, in fact, because we just bought a necklace that she's going to wear as her character in Space Command. And but this is just the start. We're creating series beyond that. I'm creating a show with Rockne O'Bannon now called Sweet Haven, where everyone in the world under 60 dies, and the people 60 and above have to save the world and keep humanity going. And so it's got Bob Picardo and Mira Furlan and Barbara Bain, and I've reached out to Nana Visitor and Eva Marie Saint, and Gates McFadden is in it. And we've just finished writing the pilot, and we're going to shoot it soon. So, it just keeps going.
Are you planning to do that one in the same fashion as Space Command, as far as how you develop and release it?
Well, the way we're doing it is I've created something called the Showrunners Network, where I'm creating 6 new shows with 6 major showrunners. Mark Fergus is one of the other ones. He and his partner created and ran The Expanse, with Naren Shankar. And so it'll be 6 pilots, all with major name actors, where we shoot all 6 pilots, and then we take them as a slate to the buyers, a slate of 6 series, all fantasy, science fiction, horror, all genre. And so far, so good. And so, it's the whole point is to not wait for the powers that be, in quotes, to wave their magic wand to make something happen. I've seen a lot of really good ideas for shows and really good shows go down in flames just because of bad network decisions. And so since my audience is willing to finance me, I don't need to wait. I have my own studio, and I mean literally a physical building, and it's more fun just to make stuff. So it's my life is Christmas every day.
What a visionary way to do things. I think that's really exciting, and I love the way that you pull some of the names you were dropping as far as cast members. I love that you're able, because of your long experience in the business and having worked with so many different people, you're able to pull in all this talent from these different shows that we know and love in the science fiction genre and space opera genre.
Yeah, well, Doug Jones is in Space Command as well, and I basically know a lot of actors, and they're wonderful. And to have Doug Jones in a scene with Bob Picardo, you couldn't wish for something more wonderful than that. And and I have my Mr. Sci-Fi channel on YouTube, so I've been posting Space Command there, so people can actually watch it. We've had millions of hits on Mr. Sci-Fi, and it just keeps getting better and better. During the pandemic, we even did a 2-hour episode of Space Command where our actors shot their own scenes in their own homes with their own cameras, so they could stay safe, but we could then have them continue in their characters and extrapolate that. So it was very, very fun. And that allowed us to bring Armin Shimmerman in, and so forth. Ethan Phillips is going to be in Space Command and Sweet Haven as well. So we're basically creating an ensemble of actors that we all love who are very underutilized. I mean, you know, if you see them in some show now, they'll be maybe the comedy character in one episode or something, but it's like, what a waste. These guys are terrific. So, and George Takei is reading the Sweet Haven pilot now. I've written a role for him as well. So, you know, and Nichelle Nichols is in Space Command as well. We shot a scene with Nichelle.
Wonderful.
So yeah, it just keeps going.
Well, speaking of George Takei, I have this at my side as well. It's kind of catching the light funny, but I loved World Enough in Time. I really, truly did. The Star Trek New Voyages episode. It's one of my favorite Star Treks ever. So thank you for that.
Thanks. And, well, we're very proud of it.
Yeah, and congratulations on all the wonderful work. And I can't wait to read what you come up with. I know you already have an idea. You've already been talking about it. You're planning to connect it up with Space Command, right?
Yes. Because I think it's really fun to have because everything in Space Command is going to be canon. So in other words, if there's a graphic novel, if there's an audio play, if there's a novel. So the first Space Command novel is already written by Maya Bonhoff, who's a friend of mine and a Star Wars novelist. The audio play has been written and recorded. The graphic novel is being drawn. It's all canon because my wife and I are writing all of it, and except for the novel which Maya wrote from our pilot script. And so I have a cameo in Space Command where you see me in a spacesuit at the beginning of the 2-hour pilot, and then toward the middle you see me get blown up in fighting as a guerrilla fighter on Titan, and then there's a statue of me that you see later, and I referred to my character as the grizzled space jockey. So I thought it'd be really fun to write a first-person short story called Grizzled Space Jockey that would connect all the dots of that character, explain how he went from being that guy in a spacesuit to being that guy in the insurgency to being a guy who has a statue erected to him at the end. And that character, you know, I mean, in science fiction, you just save the nose and you can clone somebody. And so, you know, there's no telling where he might pop up later on. So he could be a continuing character over centuries, you know.
Wow.
So we'll see what happens, you know. So.
That sounds fun.
Yeah,
I can't wait to read it.
Well, when I was 12, my mom bought me a spacesuit, and the Western Costume was the great costume rental place in Hollywood, and they never had sales open to the public. But one day they did when I was about 12 years old, and we went there, and they had a real spacesuit for sale. It was a Navy high altitude suit, the helmet, the spacesuit, the boots, everything. It was $25. Amazing. It was actually used in a Twilight Zone episode called The Parallel, one of the hour episodes, and my mom bought it for me. And so that's what I wear in Space Command. That's what you see me in where I have my line in the beginning of the pilots. So it's just really fun to honor all of that. You know, I'm a huge science fiction geek, and so when you contacted me about Space 1975, I thought this would be ideal because the Space Command is about the aesthetic of the 50s, but certainly the 70s is the continuation of that headset, you know, those assumptions that will go into space that will then get, you know, fast and light drive and off to the stars, you know, all of those assumptions that you see in the great science fiction literature and TV shows of that period, you know, and movies as well. You know, I mean, it just keeps going. I mean, Star Wars came out in 77, as you know, I'm sure. So, and that was just the visualization of everything we've been reading in science fiction since we were kids.
Oh, that's such a milestone in terms of everything. I mean, I remember just how dazzled I was by that film, and I had never seen anything quite like it. I mean, of course, it was very derivative in many ways. We know that drew from different tropes and different things that had gone before. It paid homage to so many things, but the way they put it together, and then the effects and the whole package, and it just wow.
Yeah, and like the Star Trek pilot, it just drops you in the deep end of the pool. It doesn't have people saying, well, this is what this is, and this is what this is, and this is, you know, no, it's just like, bang, you're in a land speeder, you know, you're seeing the banthas and all that stuff. And it's, and that was true with the Star Trek pilot as well. It's like, they don't say, this is what a transporter is, and this is what it does. No, it's just, they just step on the pad and bang, you know, they beam down to the planet. So, so I love that quality of both Star Trek and Star Wars. And, you know, so yeah, absolutely. It's really fun to work in science fiction.
That original pilot for Star Trek too, when you rewatch it now, it really is amazing how far forward it was. I mean, they were advanced in a lot of ways, that they were doing things that weren't being done at the time, even that early in the game.
Yes, well, I think it's pretty funny that, the first pilot didn't sell Star Trek, so they had to shoot the second one. But the first one, I don't know of any other show where they shot the pilot in 1964 and greenlit the show in 2020. Now, they're doing the Pike series finally, and so that's
Yeah.
pretty amazing. What's that gestation period? 55 years or something. That's pretty good.
Yeah, you need patience in Hollywood, I
Oh
guess.
yeah, 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 absolutely. Yep,
Well,
yep.
I'm really glad to have you aboard, and like I said, you're just the perfect person to be working on this project. I'm really excited. I just got an email while I was talking to you. It seems we are now 57% funded,
Great.
so we're moving toward the fully funded goal, and that the actual campaign ends on September 1st. So looking forward to hitting that 100% number, and then going beyond it with the stretch goals, so we can bring in all the other authors that we had who are listed as
That's
stretch
fun.
goal authors on the project.
That's
And I just really, even if I weren't involved directly with this project, this is a book that I personally would want to read really
Yes,
badly.
yes, yes. Well, it's so fun, and again, when I started going to science fiction conventions in the early '70s, that's when a lot of the masters of science fiction were still with us: Ray Bradbury and Heinlein and Isaac Asimov and Arthur C. Clarke and so forth. And many of these people you could meet at conventions, which is something I love about science fiction: the fact that you can meet your heroes. And and again, there was a continuity between, fans become authors and so forth, and then they pass that on to the next generation. Ray Bradbury started by writing fanzines for Forey Ackerman, and so forth. So I just love the tradition that we all get to work in, and also it's really fun because science fiction has um, a relevance that mainstream drama doesn't, in a way. Because, for instance, what other TV show from 1966 still is getting, millions, billions of fans around the world? You don't have Mannix conventions, or so, not that that wouldn't be fun, but it's like, I love writing in a genre that stays current because it's so cool.
Well, that's one of the aspects that I want to support in this book as well, is that we're looking back
Yes.
to the '70s, and we're also looking forward to the future, or a futuristic world, futuristic universe, in order to hopefully shed some light maybe on the present,
Yes,
which
and
of
that's
course
what
is,
Spaceman does too. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, because again, you want to be commenting in some valid way. And the thing that I love is, when I was growing up reading Heinlein, it was always some crazy rich guy who was financing like the flight to Mars or whatever. And now we actually have that, and it looks exactly like the rocket ship. Elon Musk's spaceship to Mars looks exactly like the ones I grew up, reading about on and seeing on book covers and in movies. So it's like, I mean, we're living that science fiction fans wet dream. So it's really fun, really, really fun.
it is. It's an exciting time to be a reader,
Yeah,
and to have that kind of material available. And I think there's more material available than ever before,
yes,
because of the ubiquity of the internet,
yeah,
and that enables so many people to independently produce
yes,
their fiction and distribute it, get it to a wide audience, and also Space Command and shows
yeah,
like that,
yeah,
programming and
yeah,
music, and there's so much availability now, and so many
true.
different directions people can go. And we have so much more openness to so many different voices and
I,
diversity of opinion and
yeah,
point of
well,
view.
I think it's terrific. I actually just sold a book that I'm writing now, which is called Greenlighting Yourself, and it's
Ah,
basically about how, don't wait for the studios or whoever to wave the magic wand. You can make stuff happen. When I started in television, there were only 3 networks in syndication. If you wanted to reach an audience of millions of people, you needed a network in a studio. Now you don't. I mean, you just need a computer, and you set up your own YouTube channel or whatever. Crowdfunding is such a wonderful thing as well. I mean, now, even with, you don't even need a major publisher anymore. You just need to reach out to a fan base. I mean, I think it's around 8,000, 10,000 people have financed Space Command. And, I didn't need, Paramount to say yes. And, down the road, if they pick up the show, great, but that's not needed. And
mhm.
and some of the people I work with in my VFX team, they're in Germany, they're all over the world. And so again, the internet gives us that possibility. And now that we have the pandemic, everyone's learning Zoom, and so you know we're able to connect even more readily, which is terrific. I think it's great.
Yeah, I do too. It's a wonderful time to be in a creative field. I
Yes.
think, and even more so to be working in the science fiction field. So,
Yes. Yes.
and I'm glad you're a part of it, and I'm very grateful for all the work you've done. As you can tell, I have loved much of what you've written, and I've
Wow.
seen so many
Thank
shows
you.
that you've worked on, and I really appreciate it. So,
Yeah. Well, thanks, Robert. And I really appreciate your
yeah,
reaching out to me for this anthology because I love this. I mean, I love what you've come up with for the anthology. I think it's going to be great. Any way I can spread the word or bang the drum for you, I'm happy to. I think, we all have a love of this genre and a love of the possibility this genre offers. When Ray Bradbury was a very dear friend of mine and a mentor for over 10 years, I'd go to his house once a month and we'd just sit and talk, and it was such an honor. And Ray and Arthur C. Clarke and Heinlein and Asimov were basically proselytizing this vision of the future. And it was a very positive future and a very positive vision that they, hand in hand with the space scientists, created they made the landing on the moon possible. And the one thing no one ever guessed is that we would stop at the moon, that the manned exploration would just stop. And I'm so glad that now we're picking up the baton again. Now there's all these different possibilities of sending people to Mars and beyond. And I'm in correspondence with someone who gave me a tour of SpaceX a while ago, and now she's working on the Europa Clipper, which is a mission to Europa to see if there's life on Europa. And that's just wonderful. I hugely applaud that. And so I think we're living in a great, great time now, and both in terms of science fiction and science. So I'm glad to be sitting here and having this adventure with you.
well, thanks again, Mark, and thanks for your time. And let's keep pushing, and look forward to completing this project, and with the help of all those backers out there.
Yep. Yep.
We still
Give
have
to Space 1975.
I was going to ask you what words of advice you might have to share with backers, but
Yes.
you just provided
But
that.
I mean, the one thing I will say is that for everyone out there, you're now our collaborator. Basically, you help us make things that we all want to see. It's no longer up to, MGM or 20th Century Fox or Disney, God forbid, or even HarperCollins or Random House or whoever the conglomerate owns now. It's up to us because we know what we love. We're all the same kind of fan at heart. And if we want to see something, then throw a few bucks our way for the anthology, and sooner, before you know it, it'll be in your hands. And I can't wait to be part of it and to see it as well.
One thing I think we can both safely promise is that it's going to be a dynamite book.
Yes.
It really will be.
It'll be splendiferous. Absolutely.
Yeah. Hey, thanks a lot, Mark, and we'll see you soon.
You're very welcome, Robert. Talk soon. Bye.